Good morning. Today we're going to cover recovering graphics files. Here are our objectives. A graphics file is a file that contains digital photographs, line art, three-dimensional images, and scanned replicas of printed pictures. There are three kinds of graphic files: bitmaps, vector graphics, and metafiles. Bitmap images are just a collection of dots. Vector graphics are based on mathematical instructions for drawing the graphic, and metafile graphics are a combination of both bitmap and vector. And there are different types of programs that you can use to work with the graphics files: graphic editors and then just simple image viewers. The differences between bitmap images and raster images: bitmap images store images as grids of individual pixels, while raster images store pixels in rows, which make raster images better for printing purposes. Different factors that can alter the quality of an image include the screen resolution, the software, and the number of color bits used per pixel. In vector graphics, the main characteristics of vector images: they use lines, they store only mathematics for drawing lines and shapes, so they take up less space, and they preserve quality when the image is enlarged. Some of the software that you can use to create vector images include Adobe Illustrator and CorelDRAW. Metafile graphics describe how Metafile graphics combine both raster and vector images. Metafile graphics inherit advantages and disadvantages from both types. If you enlarge a metafile graphic, the area created with the bitmap loses some resolution, but the vector formatted area remains sharp and clear. Different graphics file formats are listed here. Graphic interchange format, or what we call GIF files. The Joint Photographic Experts Group, JPEG, files and their extensions are JPEG and JPG. Tagged image file format, TIFF. Windows bitmap files. Some of the standard vector file formats include Hewlett-Packard Graphics Language, HPGL, and AutoCAD, DXF. There are some non-standard file formats like Targa, Raster Transfer Language, Adobe Photoshop and Illustrator, Freehand, Scalable Vector Graphics, and Paintbrush. To search the web for programs to manipulate or even just to view these files, you go into your you go to the web and just search for asterisk dot and then the extension of the file and then space and the word files, and that will bring up information about that file format. And if you search carefully, names of programs that you can use to manipulate or view those files. Digital camera formats. Witnesses or suspects can create their own digital photos. There is the RAW format, referred to as the digital negative, is typically found on many higher-end cameras. Sensors in a digital camera simply record pixels on the camera's memory card. The advantage of the RAW format is that it maintains the best picture quality possible. The biggest disadvantage is that it's proprietary and not all image viewers can display these formats. Um, the process of converting a raw picture to another format um, can be done. Exchange image file, exchangeable image file format, or EXIF file, is a standard developed by the JEIDA for storing metadata in JPEG and TIFF files. EXIF is commonly used to store digital pictures. EXIF file formats collect metadata, such as when the picture was created and some of the camera settings, possibly the name of the camera or the model of the camera that created it, date and time the picture was taken. So EXIF files store metadata at the beginning of the file. Tools such as ProDiscover and EXIF Reader can extract metadata evidence for your case. Here's the EXIF information. End of image marker. Since the EXIF format collects information, investigators can learn more about the type of digital camera and the environment in which the pictures were taken. Okay, I already said that. As with any computer forensics investigation, determining date and time for a file is important. You should list this type of evidence as subjective in your report because intentional and unintentional acts make date and time difficult to confirm. EXIF editors can allow you to go in and make changes to that information. Data compression. Some image formats compress their data, including GIF, JPEG, and PNG. Others, like bitmaps, do not compress their data. You can use data compression tools for these formats. Now, in compressing the data, it takes less space to save the compressed data on a drive. That's the advantage. The disadvantage is quality of the picture, and that's from a photographic standpoint. Data compression is the process of coding data from a larger to a smaller form. Graphics files and most compression tools use one of two compression schemes, lossy or lossless. Lossless compression and lossy compression. Lossless compression reduces the file size without removing data based on Huffman or Lempel-Ziff-Welch coding for redundant bits of data. In other words, if there's 2 1s or 2 zeros or 5 1s or 5 zeros next to each other in the binary format of this file, it reduces it into a, if it's 5 zeros, it may it would just reduce those number of zeros to shorten the file. So, WinZip, PKZip, Stuff Light, and FreeZip are examples of lossless compression programs. In lossy compression, permanently discards bits of information, uses vector quantization, and determines what data to discard based on vectors in the graphics file. LZIP is an example of that. Some Some of the graphics formats that use both types of compression. For lossless, you'd have GIF and PNG files. For lossy, you'd have JPEG files. And we already talked about the tools. Okay. Locating and recovering graphics files. Computer forensics tools can be used to analyze files containing images. You can use these tools to analyze image headers and reconstruct fragment image files. Before analyzing an image file, you will have to carve for file fragments. Carving is also known as salvaging outside of North America. Computer forensics tools can be used to speed up this process. Basically, computer forensics tools carve from the slack and free space to help identify image file fragments and put them back together. You can identify image file headers from fragments found on slack or free disk space. Each image file has a unique file header. This is the file header for JPEG. And okay. The steps needed when carving an image file from slack or free space. Include planning your examination, searching for and recovering digital photograph evidence. Use ProDiscover to search for and extract or recover possible evidence of JPEG files. False hits are referred to as false positives. Okay, and the recovering more pieces of the file if needed. Examining file header. Compare with a good header example. Manually insert correct hexadecimal values and test the corrected file. And so that's what they're doing here. And there's the image. The major steps for reconstructing file fragments include locate and export all clusters of the fragment files. Determining the starting and ending cluster numbers for each fragmented group of clusters. Copy each fragmented group of clusters to their proper sequence in a recovery file, and rebuild the corrupted file's header to make it readable in a graphics viewer. Sometimes Suspects intentionally corrupt cluster links in a disk file allocation table. Bad clusters appear with zero value on a disk editor. There it is. Sometimes oh, I already did that. Okay. Identifying unknown file formats. You can use the internet as your main source for finding explanations and viewers for uncommon or unknown image formats. Some of the websites include Google, obviously, digitech-asi.com, Whatsit, and what is techtarget.com. Analyzing graphic file headers. You should analyze graphic file headers when you find files that your tools don't recognize. And you can use a hexadecimal editor such as Hex Workshop to analyze unknown file graphic headers. Use good header examples to help you. Tools for viewing images. For graphics files, for just viewers, Thumbs Plus, ACDC, Quick View, and IR Fan View. Most graphical user interface computer forensic tools include image viewers that display only common image formats, especially GIF and JPEG. These tools include ProDiscover, EnCase, FTK, Xways Forensics, and iLook. Okay, steganography in graphics files. Steganography is the art of hiding information inside graphics files. Okay, there are different major forms: insertion and substitution. Now, this is an ancient technique, but you can only hide certain amount of information. Insertion. Hidden data is not displayed when viewing the host file in its associated program. You need to analyze this data structure carefully. An example would be the web page. There's an example here. In substitution, it replaces bits of the host file with bits of data, usually changes the last two LSBs, and can be detected with steg analysis tools, usually used with image files, audio and video options. That's hard to detect. All right. Whoops. Didn't mean to do that. All right. Here's the original file. And this is going to be an example of insertion. Here's after the insertion of information. Oh, wait a second. That's a bad example. That was a joke. That was a joke, son. I keep pitching them and you keep missing them. They keep going over your head. Just kidding. It's a cold medicine I'm taking, I guess. You can see the original and altered files very, very similar. Okay, when it's done right. There's a hidden picture in the altered image. Steg analysis tools, also called Steg tools, are used to find information hidden in graphics files. This can be very time consuming. Furthermore, when steganography has been applied correctly, in most cases you cannot find the hidden data. Some of the methods Steg tools employ when analyzing image files including compare suspect file to a good or bad image version. Mathematical calculations verify size and palette color, and compare hash values. Copyright issues with graphics. Steganography was originally developed to incorporate watermarks on image files for copyright purposes. As an investigator, you should be very careful when analyzing image files to avoid copyright conflicts. By the way, there is no such thing as an international copyright law. This is for the U.S. Oh, and we're finished with Chapter 10 already.